All right. Um, I want to tackle a subject of vehicle service agreement, or vehicle service contracts. A lot of people don't understand what those actually offer, um, and that's why they say no whenever somebody asks them about they want vehicle service agreements or contracts. Um, Now, I know in certain countries, uh, there's really no after sales service available. So, like mostly third world countries, they don't really have, like, once you purchase a car, uh, you're on your own. Um, it's very hard to get parts or service done. Even dealers don't have that strong uh, after service available. But in most developed countries, including US, when you buy a car, they do offer after service, and that will save you a lot of money if you run into a problem. Now, it's uh, it's it's basically the same way as like you do the car insurance. So when you have a car insurance, you don't expect to have an accident in while you are um, owning that car, but you still want to protect yourself, and people who don't generally end up losing more. And I have experienced that myself, so I know exactly how bad it can be. Um, but you know, generally speaking, insurance is required by law in at least United States. I don't know about the other countries what the situation is, but it's to protect you, because generally people don't have enough money in their account, saving account, to cover for the damages to them, to their car, to the other car, and the people inside the other car. So um, if you if you have an accident and it's your fault, and the other party does have insurance, uh, their insurance, the comprehensive insurance, will cover them, but their insurance company is going to go after you. So they will send your whatever the damages are to collection for you. So it will stay on your record. Um, you won't be able to get out of that situation. So make sure to have comprehensive coverage for that matter. But so a lot of people understand the insurance, and nobody really drives without insurance. But a lot of people don't understand vehicle service contracts, which are similar to insurance, but it covers different aspect of your car. It doesn't cover physical accidents or anything like that, but it does cover uh, like damage to your car. Like if anything is not working, that's covered. So if your any part of your car stop working, like say your computers go out, your engine is not running properly, transmission fails, those are the things that are covered by vehicle service expense contract. Generally, the expensive items. So like vehicle service contract does not cover if somebody hits you. It does not cover your maintenance, but it does cover if your engine failed, your car is not running, your windows not going down, um, uh, moonroof is not working, things like that. So you are protected, and depends on, you have to be careful. Now a lot of companies offer vehicle service agreements, and there are some companies that have a lot of disclaimers and they don't cover the same way as some of the reputable ones do. So if you're buying an expensive car or even a cheap car, but if you're buying like something that you can't uh easily repair, like you won't buy actually they won't even sell you a vehicle service agreement on a car that's worth a few $1,000s. So if you do purchase, like, say, I think the least expensive I've seen is a car like over $5,000. So if a car is worth over $5,000, and there are some newer cars but terrible depreciation um value on those cars, and they still have within certain mileage, like less than 100,000 miles and less than 10 years old, you can get a vehicle service agreement on them. And it's not going to be very long, it's not going to be cheap, but that will give you a coverage in case the car breaks down. So you're covered, so you don't have that risk factor when you're buying a used car. So if something breaks down, you're not going to be like out of pocket or using your credit cards to fix your car. Um, that will increase your cost of ownership quite a bit. And that's always a risk when you're buying a used car. Now, new cars generally have um, manufacturer warranties. They're not the same as vehicle service agreement. Vehicle service agreement covers um, better, and they generally have um, longer coverage. So you're not looking at 2 or 3 years. Like after 3 years on a car, newer car, you have um, liability, not liability, powertrain warranty, which is only going to cover your mechanical breakdown, which is like engine, transmission, drivetrain. It will not cover your uh, computer failure, windows not going down, moonroof, electronic failure, radio failure, things like that. Uh, but generally, let's say you have a problem with the car and it's got a check engine light. You take it to mechanic and they say, "Yep, there's a problem with the engine, uh, or like say electronics failure," and then you're not covered by the powertrain warranty. A powertrain warranty will cover if actually there's a, let's say, engine seized or failed. But then again, uh, it's very basic, so they will cover the mechanical aspect of it, but they won't cover the electronics. So you want to protect yourself um, with a vehicle service agreement, and that's going to be like generally a 7 year, 100,000 miles, at least, with like a good manufacturer. So when I purchase a car, I purchased a certified used car. It came with what was it? Yeah, it came with powertrain warranty. Uh, that was pretty much like they gave you like a 7 year. Um, so it was the same powertrain warranty that the manufacturer warranty came with. So they just extended the mileage from 60 to 100,000 miles, and it was like literally 4 years. So I converted, I purchased the vehicle service agreement on my car, and I basically, for the same length that I was going to get the powertrain warranty, I had better coverage. So I would not be responsible for any electronic failure. Uh, and you have to remember, newer cars have a lot of computers and they are not cheap. Uh, labor is definitely not cheap. Um, Even for the guys who know how to fix them, they really don't want to take their time out and fixing a car. I mean, they will do it if they have no choice. But for example, like I can fix my car, I just don't want to do it. It's just takes time out of me doing something more important or something else that I could much rather, spend my time on. So, and cars are like transportation, like commute. Uh, like if my car breaks down, I mean, I can't just get days off from work to work on my car, or I can't just call in. And I have seen people lose their job because they call too many times trying to work on their car because it had some issue. And sometimes you can have electrical problems that you can never figure out. You can throw parts at the car, uh, like most people. That could get very expensive very quickly, and you still no guarantee that it will fix the problem. So with vehicle service agreement, they have factory trained technicians. You don't have to worry about how much labor will cost. You don't have to worry about how much the part will cost. They will just replace it, and you don't have to deal with any of those things. So it's makes a lot of sense, and I would recommend anybody who's buying a car, especially newer cars with so many uh, equipment inside it, you want to have the coverage so you won't have to worry about uh, downtime. Like you don't have to worry about putting uh, purchasing parts with your credit card, paying for labor that's not qualified to work on the car. Like if you don't go to a dealer, dealers are more expensive because they're factory trained. If you go to like a third party and you get it fixed, that's another thing you have to watch for. Now, if you have some third party work on your car and they they do something wrong, um, they could put some uh, aftermarket parts that are not of the same quality as manufacturer, and you have a problem. Um, Now you have to go back to them, and if they say they're not going to do anything, then you are pretty much out of luck. So you want to you you want to basically protect yourself for the ownership time frame. Um, Now, a lot of people uh, think that buying a car, you pay for the car or finance it, and that's it. Uh, and everything else is pretty much nothing. But you have to pay attention to the whole time you're going to own the car, you will be spending money. Some you don't know what will happen, but things will happen. And if you are smart, you're going to pay a fixed amount up front to not have to worry about any surprises. And with cars, it's really, really, um, I mean, you're driving it in all kind of weathers, cold, hot. I mean, it's a combustion engine, so you're going through a lot of heating, cooling. There's a lot of parts in the car. If any component fail, let's say your hose leaked and like cooling hose leaks, and uh, your car overheats, and now your head is warped. Okay, you don't plan on those things, but it's a rubber hose, and has happened to me. Um, um, your head gasket fails. Your electronics things stop working. Like now your door doesn't open. Your window doesn't go down, radio doesn't work. I mean, in newer cars, the radios are not just like, they do a lot more than just play music. They're literally connected to the car. They let you control certain aspect like a climate control. They also sometimes have different information. So it's, I mean, if you're gonna go with the factory radio, they're not inexpensive. They're expensive. So you have to take that into account too. Um, Now, sure, you can buy used parts, the cheaper, but then again, uh, there's a lot of labor involved. So if something breaks down, then you're gonna have to do it again. So newer parts will come with a newer warranty. So that is the difference right there. So bottom line is, vehicle service contracts are just as important as the insurance on your car, because they will save you money. And if you have um, more expensive car, it's much more important, because there's a reason why the car is more expensive, because parts are more expensive on it. um, and that's one of the reasons why, if you really did not want to buy a vehicle service agreement, the other option for you is to lease a new car. The reason why I say that is because generally during the lease term, which is 3 years, you do have a manufacturer comprehensive warranty that covers the electronics, that covers major breakdown. So you don't have to worry about those things while you own it. So it and after the 3 years, you literally get another car with the same warranty. Um, but if you plan on keeping a car for longer term, or if you purchase a used one, then you do want to protect yourself uh, from that problem. Now, I have seen people who buy new cars and they do the vehicle service agreement on them. The reason why they do it is because they plan on keeping it for longer. They don't lease, or they don't understand how lease works. They want to own a car, which is technically, I mean, when you're financing it, you don't own a car, bank owns it, but you still, uh, you know, feel like you own it uh, until the last payment you make, like whatever the 5 year term you have, 6 years, or sometime I've seen people do 7 years or term, and then you basically make the last payment. For that time frame, you are um, responsible for the car. So if something happens, you can't just say, if the car broke down, you can't just say, sorry, I'm not going to fix it, um, because bank owns that car. And if you like, I've seen some people stop paying when the car breaks down because they don't have the money to fix it. So they say, well, if I don't have the car, why am I going to pay? That will ruin your credit. So you don't want to do that. So bottom line is, when you finance a car, you are responsible for it. Just like the banks require you to have full coverage insurance, they also require you to maintain the car. They also require you to have it working, because technically they own it. So it's they they will go after you for the money. So if you purchase a car and it breaks down, and then you don't make a payment, they will repo it, they will auction it, and they will get very low dollars for non-running car, and whatever the remaining amount is, they'll send to collection. So you'll be paying one way or another for the car. Now, if you pay cash for the car, which some people think is better idea, which is not, because the cars depreciate in value, and you don't want to put your money in a car when you can get very inexpensive loan, and you can spend your money on something more um, of an asset versus a liability. So technically, uh, you want to cover yourself while you own a car. So if you pay cash, car breaks down, same thing. Now you have a lot of your money tied in the car, and if you look at it from that perspective, you have to put more money to make it work. Now you don't know how much money you're going to spend. So if you prepay for the coverage, then you are limiting your expenses for the duration that you're going to keep the car. So you're not like, I'm going to spend 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000. You don't know. It could happen that you don't have any problem, especially with some uh, good, reputable brand names like Toyotas or Hondas. Uh, but I've seen Hondas with bad transmission, and then I've seen Toyotas uh, uh, breaking down too. So it depends on how, where, because you're running a car. If you stress it too much, um, like leaving it running 24/7, um, like for example, if you are, um, work requires you to drive a lot, um, then you are not. It's normal. It's not technically considered normal driving. You're putting a lot more wear and tear on the car, which increases uh, your chances of failure. Because after all, a car has a lot of parts, and some of them are mechanical, some of them are electronics. And because of the newer safety requirements, there are like 8, 9, 10 airbags. There are like so many computers inside the car. All those things are not cheap. They're going to be expensive. So um, now, if something breaks down and you ignore it, you don't fix it. Let's say there's a check engine light and you ignore it, and you try to sell the car. As soon as they see the check engine light, they're not going to give you what you're asking for it. So the you, you have to fix the car to keep it from depreciating. So that's one of the reasons why cars depreciate, is because some cars depreciate higher than the other cars because they are expecting things to break down, and that's why they lower the price, because they know uh, this car is expensive to fix, so they take that into account and take that out of the price. um, so you just have to uh, be smart about this. It's not like you can get away with it with most cars. uh, there's some cars that are very good, and if you are lucky and nothing really happened, which is like, I'll give you an example. I was driving my car, and my hose, um, the rubber hose, oil hose, leaked. It literally, um, so the oil basically was going to the oil cooler. So the oil leaked out of the car. So I didn't have any oil in the car. And I'm pretty much watching all the gauges and all that stuff. So I saw the oil pressure gauge drop down. So not everybody pays attention. So that happened to you. Uh, that is a new engine. And engines are not cheap. Labor is not cheap. You could be 10, 15, $20,000 if you go to a dealership to get a new engine in your car. And the labor rates are like, what, 100, 120, 130, whatever dollar an hour. That's not cheap. So, and it doesn't take 1 hour, it takes many hours when you're doing the engine. So you're looking at maybe 50% of that in labor, 50% in parts, and you're responsible for it. I mean, it happens. I mean, you have so many parts, and they can fail, and they don't really, like, say, they don't pick the time, but let's say fourth year of your ownership, something like that happened. Uh, Electronics, computer, parts, all those things. You don't have to worry about um, any of those things. Plus, with vehicle service agreements, they also give you rental car, they give you towing, they even give you food and lodging for a few days, which is like good for when you're driving long. You don't have to worry about all those extra expenses because your car broke down. Now you have to live in a motel while your car is being fixed wherever it broke down. And the towing company is not going to tow too far. They're going to tow to nearest service repair center, and that's where you're going to be staying. Now, if you have a rental, you continue on your trip. You don't have to worry about how much the rental is going to cost. You don't have to worry about the towing bill. You don't have to worry about how much the repair is going to cost. You just continue with a rental, and then enjoy your trip. Come back when you're done with the trip, and return the rental. Take your car. No money out of your pocket. That is very smart way of protecting it. So I did it on my car, and I recommend anybody who's buying a car that's over $5,000 should get it, because is if you have a $5,000 less car, is generally not that big of a loss. Like if you have major problem, you're more likely to just buy another car. So, but if you're buying a more expensive car, uh, $10,000 car, you just can't replace it. So by spending a couple of grand, if you can cover yourself for 4 or 5 years, 3, 4, 5 years, depending on the car, of course, um, that is great. That way you are uh, limiting your expenses, surprises, so you won't have to worry about it. Will be part of your payment when you're financing. You're really not paying that amount upfront. You're making payments on it. So, in other words, so let's say your car payment is $400, and if you add a VSA in there or vehicle service agreement in there, you're probably paying $30 per month extra. It's a lot easier to pay $430 or $4,000 or $5,000. I don't know what will be the uh, cost. You 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 are limiting your surprises. So you are only responsible for your payment. So once your problem happens with your car, all you do is call the dealership. They will send a tow, or and then you basically get reimbursed for the towing through your vehicle service agreement, and you tell them that you have a VSA. Another benefit of that is that when a dealer has your car and they know you have a VSA, they're not worried about not getting paid by you, because they know whatever breaks down, the vehicle service agreement will cover. So they're not worried about not getting paid. because they don't know if you have the money. If you don't have the money and they work on it, then they can't just do anything. I mean, they can put you hold your car, but they still spend the money. So it's a business. So as soon as you have a vehicle service agreement, you get a high priority. So they will start working on your car right away. They don't have to wait for your uh yay or nay. They don't have to worry about if you are going to of course you want a car fixed, and the only reason why they hold that work is because they want to know that they're going to get paid if you're okay with that work. But with VSA, you're not paying for it, so they're not worried about. They know they're going to get paid because the VSA will cover it. So you can kind of get expedited service. So that's another benefit of that. So yeah, keep that in mind. And once you experience something like that, like I have a story of a guy who bought the vehicle service agreement on his car, and the car had issues. And he was in and out so many times in a dealership that if he had to pay it out of the pocket, he paid more than what he paid for the car in repairs, and the vehicle service contract covered everything. Um, uh, the provider wasn't happy because they didn't expect it to break down so much. I mean, generally one or two incidents in a period is pretty normal, but um, having it so many times, I mean, that's expensive. So, but he bought it and he was covered. He was happy, and he didn't have to pay any extra money out of his pocket. So, yeah, you have to be, especially with limited um, budget, or everybody has bills. uh, it's a good idea to do it. So my recommendation would be to do it. And of course, I'm not your car salesman, so um, I know a lot of people think that the salesman is trying to sell them something that they don't really need, and they can easily handle it. I don't think that's the case. $30 a month is a lot easier to pay than $4,000, $5,000, or even $10,000, depending on the car. Uh, it could be even more expensive. Um, you'll be much better off with that fixed monthly bill than trying to deal with big amounts. So yeah, just do it. Um, and you'll see that you really going to be very happy when it breaks down, because you know you're covered. Okay, I hope you like my explanation of vehicle service agreement, and you know now more than what you did before. And if you like this video, please like, press the like button, subscribe to my channel so I can make more videos like this one for your education. So I mean, what I'm sharing here is based on my experience, and a lot of people, even some salesmen, like a lot of people buy cars from, they are not experienced enough, and so they're not able to explain it to you. So, and you buy a car and you end up spending more money, later repairs and all this stuff, because your salesman did not know about the benefits of vehicle service agreement. And it's all about understanding. And once you understand why you're paying for something, then it will make more sense. Now, um, if you don't understand that, uh, you know, then you will basically go with out of pocket, and that would be more expensive. All right, thank you, and drive safely.